One thing I've noticed throughout the course of 2024 is that a lot of my favorite artists are starting to mature and maybe hit a midlife crisis type of thing with, I think of Chromacopia by Tyler, the Creator. That album really sees Tyler looking to whether he should settle down and have a family or continue with his career and fame in the same direction he's been going. Brat by Charlie XCX is very similar to that theme of Chromacopia, with her discussing if she should settle down and have a family or keep going with her career. And there's been tons of other albums throughout the year that I've noticed that have this similar theme of kind of like a midlife crisis or maturity from these artists. And I don't see a lot of people talking about this. I feel like it's been a pretty major theme throughout 2024 with these big album releases. So yeah, like I mentioned, Chromacopia has tons of these themes. Tyler is kind of contradicting himself throughout the whole record. He wants to settle down and have a family, but he also doesn't. Like I said, he's contradicting himself. A song like Tomorrow sees Tyler reflect on how his mother's hands don't look the same, and he's starting to grow gray hair. So he's definitely maturing and kind of getting to a point in his life where he doesn't know where to go. And a lot of people would say that kind of the maturing of Tyler, the Creator, was with Flower Boy. And honestly, I would disagree. I think Flower Boy was maybe some thoughts and feelings that Tyler had that he had been feeling for a long time, but that album was finally when he decided to open up and share it with the world. I feel like Chromacopia, Tyler is genuinely in a place in his life where he doesn't really know which direction he should go. And Brat by Charlie XCX, like I mentioned, same type of situation. And that was one of the biggest albums of 2024. So you're going to tell me that this theme of maturing and kind of having this midlife crisis of where do I go next with my life isn't a big thing of 2024. Like one of the biggest pop records of the year shares this theme massively.
Like number two.
Should I start my birth control? 'Cause my career feels so small in the existential scheme of it all.
Also, Bad Camo by Lil Yachty, which is one of the most underrated records of the year, is definitely Yachty's most personal and open albums. And obviously, when people think of kind of a new direction for Yachty, they think of Let's Start Here. And I would agree, but I don't think that album was very vulnerable. It was more just experimental and definitely saw a new side of Yachty musically. But Bad Camo, the record that released with James Blake this year, definitely sees Yachty being more vulnerable and open. And honestly, there's some very depressing parts of that record that Yachty really shares a vulnerable side to him. And the album ends on probably one of the most depressing songs on the record. There isn't a conclusion to this album with, bright or positive messaging. So it definitely shows that Yachty is still going forward. There is no answers to maybe the questions and vulnerability he was opening up to in the record. There is no conclusion yet. He's still going forward. JPEG Mafia released one of the most experimental records of the year, and that album was very brash and energetic, but the last couple songs end on a very introspective note. Don't Put Anything on the Bible is very chill, and you see, JPEG kind of reflecting and being introspective. And then I Recovered From This is probably one of JPEG's most open and vulnerable songs he's ever released. It sees him rapping about his career, his relationships, and just the state he's in his life. So to have such an energetic and raw album and then go into this more introspective, chill vibe at the end definitely shows some maturity from JPEG. And again, just like Bad Camo, it doesn't end on a super positive note. You see JPEG getting introspective, but the production and the songs are kind of dark. It doesn't really end on a positive note. Again, kind of that like midlife crisis type of thing where, maybe they're stuck at one point in their life and they don't really know where to go. So there isn't really a positive or, set in stone conclusion to these records. I guess you could say Kanye kind of had a midlife crisis with the Vultures installments, but I mean, Kanye's always going through a midlife crisis, let's be honest. Hey, honestly, I could say Drake is kind of going through a midlife crisis right now. After the beef, it is kind of unsure of like what direction Drake could go in with his career. We saw with the beef that Drake still does have the pen game in him, and definitely the beef brought the rapping out of Drake again, brought the pen work out of Drake again. So it's unclear as to whether that would be a better route to go for Drake in his career musically, or he would go still in that same For All the Dogs CLB kind of bag. And I guess this has kind of been brewing for a while, this kind of midlife crisis of Drake not really knowing what he's going to do with his career next, because I mean, obviously he hasn't been very vocal about this, but it is pretty evident that, maybe Drake doesn't know where he wants to go next. He's doing this Party Next Door album, and I don't know how well that's going to do or how well that's going to be received. So it's really interesting to see maybe where Drake would go next. And I think this beef definitely put in perspective where Drake is in his career. And yeah, there's definitely midlife crisis albums that are bad and negative and not good records, but I kind of wanted to talk about more in this video the fact that someone like a Charlie XCX or Tyler the Creator can take these heavy topics and kind of maybe depressing topics in their own life and turn them into art and music. And it's just absolutely beautiful that a person, a human being, can take these topics and make it into a music form. So props to Charlie XCX and Tyler for doing that with these heavy topics. It's absolutely beautiful. But yeah, there is definitely some albums that I can bring in that are kind of negative midlife crisis albums. Eternal and Take Two by Lil Uzi Vert. That album seems like Uzi really doesn't know where to go musically. He seems kind of uninspired, and yeah, it just definitely lacks direction and where he wants to go. And the fact that it was attached to a previous album and it was a sequel that had nothing to do with the previous album is just, it's weird. It's definitely uninspired. And then also, like I mentioned, the Vultures installments by Kanye, that is kind of a midlife crisis for Ye, because he was taking the Jesus route, and then he was like, nah, fuck that, I'm gonna do a club bangers, horny album. It's definitely weird. And Kanye definitely seems to be lacking direction recently. But yeah, let me know in the comments down below, what albums did I miss that maybe could fit this criteria, the midlife crisis kind of maturing type of thing that I've been talking about in this video. Let me know in the comments down below. Lots of end of the year content in the next couple weeks. We only have like 2 weeks left of the year, so definitely we're gonna be pumping that out. Top 10 albums, top 50 songs, all of that. So stay subscribed to the channel if you want to see my list. And yeah, subscribe, play my card, likes my channel, comment, like, all that kind of stuff. Peace.